strong for the last 250 years.
You mentioned how women have such an impact on the selection. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, women make up 53% of the electorate. They vote in greater numbers than men, and they have more issues on the table than men have. There's a masculine gender bias by a lot of men who are put off by a woman. They were put off by Hillary Clinton. They're probably put off by Kamala Harris. In Britain, the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, was a different kind of politician, and she kind of paved the way. Golda Meir in Israel in the late 1940s. There have been Perón. There have been some really significantly strong women that have won the respect of their countries and have done great things. It's wrong for us to discount someone because of their sex or their orientation or their race or their color or their creed. Don't look at them, just listen to the words, okay? Sometimes that's the best thing that we can do, is take the words. And it really wasn't until today that it became clear to me that one candidate was saying, I want you to pledge me my fealty. The other candidate was saying, I will pledge you my fealty. So that becomes the choice. So the person that's pledging fealty to me will listen to me. The person who's saying that they want my fealty isn't going to listen. And I think we have to vote.
Yes.
I think we got to get started here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
We'll talk to you after we're
Of
done.
course.
We'll know more. Businesswoman.
Just in case we do this lunch before midnight, I'm just going to go right here. Okay. Our first voter.
Second voter.
Well, it's that time again. In about 8 minutes, we will open the polls here. For those of you who've been here before, the process has changed a little bit, where we used to line up and my father would be the first person standing here at midnight to drop his ballot in the box, signaling things were, we were starting to vote and everybody else would just line up behind him. Today, we do it a little bit more, by the book. As I'm sure you've seen coverage in the TV, following the rules, election security, all that stuff is key. It's paramount. It's what makes the voting system work. And we, even though there's only 6 of us in a little tiny town here doing something very special, we follow all the rules. So the Attorney General's office is here looking over our shoulder, making sure that we're set up correctly. And we will actually open the polls and start the whole process at midnight. So the first vote will probably be a minute or two after. Before we get started tonight, I don't know, we got 7 minutes, we will hear from our guest accordionist.
Not a polka.
We'll hear the national anthem played on the accordion, and we hope that you enjoy that and appreciate that. That's what this is all about. This is all about getting out to vote and making sure that everybody in the country, when they wake up in the morning, people have already voted. People have voted at polls already that day. when I started this, there was no such thing as early voting and vote by mail and all of that. So we're not really the first voters, we're just the first polling place to open and close on election day. But the message is still the same. If a small town up in the mountains can get everybody out, 100% of their registered voters out to vote at midnight, maybe you can get up a little earlier or take a little time from your day and vote as well. And especially this election where if the person you really don't want to win wins and you don't vote, how are you going to feel the next 4 years? Kind of the theme. And our guard dog here will make sure that everybody is, there you go. All right, we're 4 minutes till midnight. A little bit about the process. Les will be our first voter with only last election we only had we had 6. There's the last minute. Prior to that we only had 5. So even with 6 people, we have to switch some roles. So I play the role of ballot clerk as well as town moderator, and in order to manage the process for all elected officials here. In order to manage the process, a selectman has to go first, and that's Les. So Les will go first, then he and I will switch places, and I will vote, and then as soon as I get my ballot and start voting, then the rest of the voters will line up, go through the process, check in, get their ballots, and do their voting. As soon as all ballots are in the box, we will close the polls and start the counting. We'll do the counting right here. If we make a mistake, I'm sure you'll tell us. But we'll do the counting right here, and as soon as we're finished, we will post the results on the board over there. Simple, straightforward process. That's what we're going to do. And just make sure everybody's comfortable. All in We used to have a very lightweight sort of cardboard box. And then when John Sununu was governor, he was embarrassed by that, and he had the prison system make us a beautiful ballot. They didn't have to make it so big. Anyway, it's 2 minutes up, and
Okay. To honor our great nation, we'll begin with the playing of the national anthem by a very special guest, 3-time world champion accordion player, Corey Pesatore.
30
Quick
seconds.
question.
Ten seconds. And it's now midnight, November 5th, the polls are open in Dixville.
Yes, I hear an answer. Yes. Ready? That's a three-time motion before you play, just play the national anthem. And now that it's midnight, the voting is beginning in this village at Dixville. We are in the living room. Beautiful home here in Dixville Mansion. We're in Balsam's Resort, which is currently just refurbishing. So this home is, for tonight, a precinct. New Hampshire law allows very small communities, that's for their own precincts, and to ask them to test the voting to be happening early. This time, there's so much, right now, you can see they're voting with three votes in the box. This town, the whole town is in this living room right now. That's 6 people, 6 registered voters in Dixville, New Hampshire, casting the votes right now. 4 of these people are registered Republicans, 2 of them are undeclared. So what's allowed to be done in New Hampshire, a very small town, is when you cast your ballot first minute of election day, which it is right now. And these will be the first results. There may be 160 million votes cast in the United States, 80,000 or so votes cast in New Hampshire, but these will be the first 6 votes that are being cast right now. And they will announce the results. You can see the voting booth, which is the American flags are there. There's 3 booths, 4 to 6 people. They take the ballots, they have a pen, and they look at this, not just the president, the governor, for the representative in Congress, and for other local races. Of course, most of the country is 6 people to vote for the president of the United States. So I can tell you, Dixville has been doing this since 1960. For 64 years. This is the 17th election where they've had midnight voting here. He's handled the voting in New Hampshire by 15 miles of original Canadian border. Other towns have done it in New Hampshire too, and no one's doing commission. And this is the longest continuity from 1960 until 2024. For 64 years, they've been casting early votes. In the past, these are the first votes casting in the election entirely. They're not waiting for this very early in the United States, but these are the first votes cast on the election day. And of course, it is the first results. They're all going to the fact this box has been used since 1980. It's the election of Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. The sign that the biggest going notch in Hampshire, first in the nation, that's been used since 1960. So there's a lot of great customs going on here, great heritage, great history. There's a lot of people in the United States right now who are upset about political discourse in this country, but I can tell you in this room, you have Republicans, Democrats, Independents, not just the 6 people who live here, but also members of the press from all over the world and visitors from elsewhere in New Hampshire and in the United States who come into this. So it's the window ballots in the box and on the box. The town moderator who's standing next to it right now, Tom Tillett, about to unlock the box, open it up, and then they'll start counting the tape. You see on the left here, there's a board. And on the board, there's first in the nation, it's state of New Hampshire, 2024, and then we'll vote for voters on the board. There's a representative from the New Hampshire Attorney General's office here. Those votes will be the first official votes for 2024 election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I'm wondering if you guys, or somebody else, got any questions for me? there's so much pride in this room right now, not just among the 6 people that probably live in the village of Dixville, but among members of the news media, among other people from New Hampshire, who want to the meeting, and recognize Jesus, the 6 million church, other people in the country. I can find this, you've heard of this resort for a number of years, the Boston Resort. It's a very beautiful ski resort. It's been closed for a little while now. They're refurbishing it, and they'll reopen it in 2 years. So at the peak of the resort's existence, there were more than 30 people who lived here in Dixville Notch. Now they're down to 6. Ultimately, when the resort reopens, they hope they have more. They want to keep this tradition going. As I was mentioning to you before, there are other towns, for example, Hart's Lane in New Hampshire has also had midnight living for many years. They stopped it 4 years ago because of the COVID outbreak, and they haven't resumed it. But they did it for a long time too. So did a town called Dixville, New Hampshire. But this will not just continue to improve and not just succeed. That's what we did. 76, election, Reagan against Carter, and then doing
The
continuous.
supervisors advise if all registered voters have voted.
This is some sort.
Been advised that all registered voters have voted. And according to New Hampshire law, we are now able to close the polls if the town so chooses. Do I hear a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
And all those in favor? I declare the polls are closed. And we will now begin the counting.
Official counting is taking place now. It's Tony and Johnson, Tony Rocky, 44 voting. Show us the box is going on. Attorney General Brooks is really looking at it. Tom, don't drop the box.
Try not to.
It'll hurt somebody.
Won't hurt the box, that's for sure.
One for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance. One for Kelly Ayotte. One for Lily Tang Williams. One for Joseph T. Kenny. One for David Roquefort. One for Arnold G. Davis. One for Keith L. Roberge. One for John McCormick. One for Suzanne Collins. One for Leon H. Ryder. One for Terry L. Peterson. One for Ray Gorman. And yes on the constitutional amendment question. One for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. One for Kelly Ayotte. One for Lily Tang Williams. One for Joseph D. Kenny. One for David Roquefort. One for Arnold G. Davis. One for Keith Roberge. One for John McCormick. One for Suzanne Collins. One for Leon H. Rideout. One for Terry L. Peterson. One for Ray Gorman. And another yes for the constitutional amendment question. One for, I never say her name right, I'm sorry, Kamala D. Harris. One for Tim Walls. One for Kelly Ayotte. One for Maggie Goodlander. One for Joseph D. Kenny. One for David Roquefort. One for Arnold G. Davis. One for Keith Roberge. One for John McCormick. One for Suzanne Collins.
Next.
One
to
for
Winter
Leanne
Valley.
H.
Typically,
Rideout.
no waiting for show exam.
One for Terry L. Peterson. One for Ray Gorman.
Should make some about 9
And
years.
yes on the amendment question.
Should make some good grad state and state New Hampshire that we lost in the country.
One for Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance. One for Kelly Ayotte. One for Maggie Goodlander. One for Joseph D. Kenny. One for David Roquefort. One for Arnold G. Davis. One for Keith L. Roberge. One for John McCormick. One for Suzanne Collins. One for Leon H. Rideout. One for Terry L. Peterson. One for Ray Gorman. And no for the constitutional amendment question.
That's exactly right.
One for Kamala D. Harris and Tidwell. One for Joyce Craig. One for Maggie Goodlander. One for Emmett Soldati. One for Rusty Talbot.
6 total voters.
One for Arnold G. Davis. One for Keith L. Roberge. One for John McCormick. One for Suzanne Collins. One for Leon H. Rideout. One for Terry L. Peterson. One for Ray Gorman. And we have an under, is that an undervote? And one undervote.
So here we go.
One for Kamala D. Harris.
Kamala Harris gets
Walsh.
the stage to vote.
One for Kelly
Donald Trump,
Ayotte.
3, and Kamala Harris.
One for
Review to
Maggie
talk about the
Goodlander.
closest races with the
One for
polls in the United
Joseph D.
States.
Kenny.
Say it's 50-50.
One for David Roquefort.
Officially,
One for Arnold G.
it's
Davis.
still not.
One for Keith L. Roberge. One for John McCormick. One for Suzanne Collins. One for Leon H. Rideout. One for Terry L. Peterson. One for Ray Gorman.
Close the polls.
And yes on the amendment question.
Yeah. For presidential election. That's what the moderator has to say.
We have the results. Yes, we do. All right, we ready for president? 3 for Kamala Harris, and 3 for Donald Trump. Following the national trend. For governor, 1 for Joyce Craig and 5 for Kelly Ayotte. And for representative of Congress, 4 for Maggie Goodlander and 2 for Lily Pang Williams. Oh, that's it. For anyone that's interested, for executive counselor, we had 1 for Emmett Soledati and 5 for Joe Kennedy. And for state senator, 1 for Rusty Talbot and 5 for David Rochefort. And all the rest of the races, there were no contests with 6 votes for each candidate. And the constitutional question, yes, 4, and no, 1. That's it. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you all. It's a wonderful tradition.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Right? It's cool.
You're listening to Franklin Pierce Global from the Marlin Fitzwater Center for Communication at Franklin Pierce University.
a really exciting end to this exciting night, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, we expected it to be close, John, but 3-3 tie, it feels like almost highlights how close the election's going to be today, really. It's past midnight now. But I find it interesting, especially because Donald Trump didn't win any votes here last time against Joe Biden and then won 2 in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. So it really kind of goes against the trend that the Republican candidate has struggled in the first few votes here at Dixville Notch.
Yeah, I know, Colin, we were both surprised as the voting was happening, and maybe you got the sense here that, in general, everyone here watching was a little surprised. This might be a microcosm into what we see on the national stage, exactly 50-50 here tonight out of 6 voters. We might be able to see that on a national platform in just a few days, really.
And we know this is going to be a close race. It's been since day one. There's so many key battleground states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. So it's really going to come down to a few of those, even New Hampshire as well. It's going to be really interesting to see how close it really is. And we might not know for a few days after this election. I feel like there's going to be several recounts, and just showcasing tonight a 3-3 tie, how close this race is going to be.
Colin, this night was so exciting and so special for both of us and all of us who came here from Franklin Pierce University. What are your biggest takeaways here tonight?
I feel like just seeing it all happen was pretty special. A bunch of people from across the world were just packed into a room with their cameras and their microphones covering this moment in this tiny town in New Hampshire. You could just tell how special and democratic it really is.
And it really speaks volumes that people from all over the world, we drove about 5 hours to come here, all to just see 6 people be the first to vote in the nation. And after the ceremony, I guess you could say, had ended, there were multiple people just acknowledging how special and important this tradition is to the United States and to the democracy that we celebrate. And Colin, I'm just so happy that I was here tonight. What do you think about this, all this as it ends?
I think it was pretty cool to see. Didn't have a lot of expectations going into it, but definitely a very special night, I'd say.
Thank you all for joining us here tonight. We're PolyFits U. I've been John McKenna. This is Colin Struckman. And all have a great night.